Hello to my wonderful viewer. I pray that you're keeping well. My name is Judyowitimentor, and welcome back to my channel where you find wisdom, encouragement, and inspiration. And so if you're new here, consider subscribing. Now, when I started this channel, one of the things that I had hoped to do was to feature inspiring stories of people who are making a difference, people who have stepped out of their comfort zone and are making an impact in our communities. And so today we are so privileged to have such a person. I deeply admire her. She's a big inspiration to me. Her name is Gabrielle Fondiller. And she is the co-founder and director of Hatua Network, a Mombasa-based NGO that works to end generational poverty by preparing youth to thrive in Kenya's workforce. Karibu sana, Gabi. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for quite a few years now, and our paths always cross because of our passion for young people. So I'm so happy to have you here today. And to the viewer, there's a lightning round at the end that we'll get to know more about Gabi. Stay around for that. So Gabrielle, you are originally from the USA, and in 2006, you came to Kenya. You came to do a field research for your college essay. And you came and you saw a need and you decided, I'm going to do something about it. You go back, you graduate, and then you come back. Tell us about that. What was your inspiration?
So, yeah, as you said, I came to Kenya in my third year of university to do a semester abroad. And one of my requirements was to do independent field research. And I ended up doing that independent field research together with Peter Kwame Mwakio in Likoni, near the Likoni ferry. And we ended up interviewing dozens of street vendors to understand the economics and the impacts of government intervention on their lives, their livelihoods. And we ended up developing close relationships with the predominantly women whom we interviewed. We got to know their families. We understood what they could afford, and we understood what they couldn't afford. We understood what they dreamed of for their futures and their families' futures. And at the end of this project, we felt like we wanted to do something meaningful to show gratitude for the people who had really opened up their stories and their lives to us. And we just sat down, and Kwame and I, we thought about it for a while, and we realized that across every single family, everyone wanted the exact same thing, which was to provide their kids with a good quality education. And so we decided in that first year to identify one student from each household and provide them with funding for their school fees for the year. And that inspired us. We realized how meaningful the work was, and we decided that we wanted to pursue that. And so the following year, we reached out to primary schools in Likoni, and through the help of the head teachers and class 8 teachers, we identified students who were bright, doing well in school, would qualify for high schools, but couldn't afford. And so we then enrolled those students in high school the following year, and that trend has now continued for all these years.
Wow. You offer scholarships. Tell us a bit more about what you do.
So ours is a scholarship, mentoring, and career guidance program that extends over the course of 10 years. We use a competitive application process to identify students when they're finishing primary school. We're looking for students who are bright, doing well in school, and whose families can't afford secondary school fees. We select these students from across Mombasa. We then sponsor them to attend boarding schools all over the country. We pay for their fees and their other necessities. Then when they're on holiday, they come back to Mombasa and they engage in mentoring. And we do mentoring during the April, August, and November holidays. And our mentoring program focuses on soft skills development, character, and values. So for example, we're teaching things like emotional intelligence and productivity and proactivity, and teamwork and leadership, and ethical citizenship and communication skills and digital literacy skills. We're teaching the cross-cutting skills that are going to be necessary for success no matter what career our students pursue. We do that during the high school mentoring program. We continue that during the period between high school and university, which we call gap year. We also engage our gap year students in a leadership development program focused on outreach to primary and secondary schools throughout our community. They do peer mentoring in schools. The most recent curriculum taught was a financial literacy curriculum. At other times, we've done programs on reproductive health and health education. We've done programs on countering violent extremism. And we've also done programs on drug abuse prevention. So these are the programs we take to the schools through our students serving as peer mentors. We continue to sponsor our students in university, and we pair them one-on-one with professionals who work in their career field of interest, so that each student has a mentor that is able to provide them with career-specific guidance and help them develop industry-specific networks. And then finally, we help with the job placement process. So we coach our alumni on the job search process, and then we also develop partnerships with companies, with employers, so that they can benefit from the skills that our alumni bring as entry-level talent, that those alumni can successfully transition from school into work. And we measure our success based on the employment rate and income of our alumni.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you don't just give them scholarship and leave them to find their way, but you actually offer so much more. Why do you think that mentorship is important for these students?
It's important for everyone, isn't it? I think any one of us that can look back and feel like we've accomplished something up to this point in our lives, we'll immediately look back and start thinking about those people who guided us along the way, those people who put us on the right track, who corrected us when we were on the wrong track, who opened a door for us, who believed in us before we had a track record. We can all to those people. And the truth is that access to those people is not evenly distributed, just like money is not evenly distributed. Those of might have grown up in affluent communities can point to professional networks that we met by in our neighborhood next door, or through our parents' friends, or through our family. We can point to all these professional networks that we met organically through our childhood. Whereas if you're coming from a very low income community where it is predominantly an informal economy, then your neighbors didn't necessarily include people with the careers that you might aspire to as a university student. They may be in a position to have mentored you on character and values, but they might not be able to introduce you to a mechanical engineer or a lawyer. And so what we're trying to do is level the playing field. We're providing that character and values-based education because every young person needs it. And then we're supplementing it even we're taking it to the next step of focusing in on professional networks, because we recognize that as much as credentials are important, as much as what we do through our scholarship program is important, it's only part of it. And young people from low resource communities to be able to access opportunities on a fair playing field, we need to level the playing field when it comes to professional networks as well.
That's amazing, Gabby. So what has been the impact so far?
Well, we have 530 students in our program. Among those 530, we have 91 who have graduated from university. And to date, we have 93% of alumni joining the workforce within 1 year of graduation, which in Kenya, I think is a pretty It's big. We know that the university graduate unemployment rate in the first 5 years out of university is actually quite high, and so helping our students transition into the workforce early has been a major success for us. And then in terms of average income for our alumni, what we're finding is that across our alumni, average income is 3 times what the average household income of families that are whose students are sponsored in our program. So you look at the household income you're coming from, then when you graduate from university, you're earning 3 times what the combined household income of your family is. So this to us is the real impact of what we do. A young person who was raised in poverty is now lifting themselves out of poverty. They're able to realize their potential, and they're also able to support those around them in a more meaningful way. For example, a lot of our alumni are now paying school fees for their younger siblings. And so we're seeing that generational impact.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, Gabi, a lot of donor funding goes into international organizations that work on a global scale, but you advocate for organizations that work at the local level with local decision making, like Hatua Network. Why is that so?
Yeah, you say that most of the funding goes to international organizations. It's 98% of all donor dollars go into large international organizations, and only 2% of the resources of philanthropy are getting to organizations that work at the grassroots. And we all can look at our own communities, and when we look at the organizations that we can really feel the impact of in our own communities, it's usually those grassroots organizations that are working on the local level, that understand the needs of the community, that understand the resources and opportunities within the community, that can leverage those resources to create additional impact. And those organizations are getting only 2% of the resources. So number one, it's just a misallocation of, it's not a smart way of using the money. But that's really not the primary issue. The primary issue is, I think, the fact that communities are better equipped to make smart choices about how to utilize that resource. And there's the aspect, I think, most importantly, of agency. I think that there's a colonial legacy that we're dealing with when we think about philanthropy that is handled internationally rather than locally. And that there's an opportunity here to counter that legacy rather than perpetuate that. And countering that legacy means making sure that the resources getting to communities so that they can make decisions about what's going to be in their best interest and lift themselves up rather than being acted on from the outside. And that's why, as an organization, we really put so much effort and energy into making sure that what we do is responsive to local need and is building on local resources, and that it is engaging our community of stakeholders to be a part of the process of guiding everything that we do.
That's eye-opening. So what's your vision for Hatua Network, Gabi?
Oh, wow. Dreams. So we're based in Mombasa. We hope that we can reach the point where every young person in Mombasa who does well in school has the opportunity to continue their education to the secondary level, regardless of economic resources. And then we recognize that the mentoring that we provide is very cost effective and can be helpful to young people beyond Mombasa. And so our long-term goal as we continue to strengthen our mentoring curriculum and as we look into ways to make it accessible in a digital platform, that we can actually make these mentoring programs accessible to young people beyond the scope of our scholarship program. That their scholarship organizations in doing mentoring might be able to make use of our resources, and that young people might be able to make use of them on their own. And so that's sort of the 5-year plan we're working on right now. We hope that we can be part of the process of helping to make soft skills education accessible more broadly.
Okay. So I'm sure when people see this wonderful impact that you've had, there's so much that you have done, you and your team, to make such a huge difference. And they look and they see the end result, but they don't see the road or the journey to this great, huge impact. So I just want to know, has there been a failure in your past that has led to some of the success that you're seeing today?
Oh, absolutely. I think of community work as 2 steps forward, 1 step back, that you're always course correcting because there's so many variables in this work that you can't anticipate what all of the outcomes of your decisions will be. We know there's this phrase that every problem has a solution. There's also in community development a counter to that, which is every solution has a problem. So
I've never heard of that. Which makes sense.
You'll do your very best to come up with the right way to approach a problem or an issue or a challenge. You will go ahead and deliver based on your best sense of the approach that will work. And then you observe and you understand, where is it not working? Where is your solution not working? And then you iterate and you iterate and you iterate. And it has to be continuous because the variables aren't stagnant, right? The community needs are changing. Young people are changing. Our environment is changing. Our world is changing. And so it's a constant process of change, which is actually really exciting. But now speaking specifically to your question about a failure that really shaped us. Early on in Hatua's existence, we had been part of a coalition that failed in grand fashion. And it taught us a lot about building a team of people who have passion and integrity and commitment, and how having the right people is the most important aspect of this in any work. And to stay determined, because there will be challenges, there will be grand challenges. There will be things that make you feel like you've aged more than a year in a year. And
like 2020.
Yes, like this. And it's that aspect of faith that you can persevere, and commitment to keep going, and a strong team that has each other's back and that will help each other continue to push with the same energy day in and day out, even when it's rough. So we learned all those things from that challenge.
And I've been to your office and I've seen your team, have met your team, and you built such a close-knit, tight, wonderful team that is doing such good work. So I really commend you for that.
Thank you. I feel very lucky every day to work with my colleagues.
Yes. So some of these questions are from your students. So your students wants to know, are there days when Gabby feels discouraged and she just feels like, you know what, I'm just going to close Hatua. I'm just going to go back home. I want to go back home. Are there days like those? And what do you do?
There's never been a day in my life where I've said I want to close Hatua. It's never, honestly, the thought has never come. There have been days when I think to myself, I'd like my role to change. I'd like the approach we're taking to this to change. There was a time when I felt like I didn't have the skills that I needed to do my best. And so I took a year and I went to grad school because I was feeling like I was always reinventing the wheel, and I was getting frustrated at the way I felt like a bottleneck to our growth. And so going back to school was a wonderful way to push through that. There have been times where I felt, wow, I am overwhelmed. And that's when you realize it's time to grow the team. You know, I'm wearing too many hats. It's not the best thing for the organization. We're going to need to hire a couple of more people to help distribute this workload so that it's getting done with the attention it deserves. And so it's never been a question of whether the organization continues to move in a progressive direction. It's been a question of how do we do it to make sure that we're taking care of our well-being and that we're acting in the best interest of the organization.
Good to know. So what would be your advice if you were to give advice to young people of this nation of Kenya? What would that be?
Oh, I got to say that my absolute favorite part of my job is when I get to be in the room with students doing mentoring and engaging. And there's so many topics that we get to cover in mentoring. And I enjoy so many of them. The two things that I see are most critical for young people's success as entry-level employees when they're trying to join the workforce or when they've just joined the workforce are proactivity and conscientiousness. So proactivity is starting without waiting to be told to start. It's seeing a need and figuring out what you can do to address it. Now, if you're brand new on the job, it doesn't mean doing something without your supervisor being aware, but it means walking over to your supervisor and saying, I'm noticing that this needs doing, may I take that on? Or noticing a challenge, and here are 3 ideas about how I think we could address that challenge, rather than going to your new boss or your supervisor and saying, there's a problem, what should we do? It's showing that you're thinking, showing that you're eager to make an impact, and it's taking things on rather than avoiding responsibility. Conscientiousness is caring about the quality of your work. It means that you take pride in the work that you do, and you see your work as a reflection of you. And so you value you internally, not because somebody else cares, but because you care about the quality of what you produce. And this means simple things like proofreading before you submit written work. But it means taking the time to do it well. And I find in my own role as an employer, and as I look at the feedback we get from employers that hire our alumni, that if a young person comes into the workforce with these 2 character traits, their employer is going to love them. Their employer is going to want to take them from being an intern to being an employee and want to keep them. And so as much as the hard skills are important, the soft skills are what matter most at the end of the day.
Wow. So Gabby, that was such amazing information that we have learned today from you about the work you do, about the impact that you are making in this country and in Mombasa. And so how can people join you? How can people plug in?
Well, we are excited to partner with so many different people. One of the things about our work is that it is a partnership with individuals and the private sector. And there are a lot of ways to get involved. One is to mentor a university student. If you would like to be paired with a student whom you'll probably have a phone call with once, you'll meet face-to-face probably 2 or 3 times a year, then please volunteer to mentor a student. You can do that by writing an email to mentor@hatuanetwork.org. If you're interested in hiring one of our alumni, you can email recruit@hatuanetwork.org and share with us job openings, and we can refer candidates for your positions. And then if you'd like to donate, we are always raising money for school fees so that we can continue to add more and more students to the program. And so those who'd like to donate can do that at our donate page at our website, hatuanetwork.org.
Okay. I will make sure to put all the links in the description below. Now to the last segment, and it's the lightning round. Are you ready for the lightning round?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. Tea or coffee?
Coffee, all the way.
Texting or talking?
Texting.
You're like me. Okay, favorite day of the week?
Sunday.
Okay, sunset or sunrise?
Sunset.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Giving presents or getting presents?
Oh, they're both so nice.
You have to pick one.
Okay, giving presents.
Okay. Climbing a mountain or jumping from a plane?
Climbing a mountain.
And then movies, action or comedy?
Action.
Oh, that's a surprise. Okay, great. That was fun. So, okay, so thank you so much, Gabi, for this wonderful interview that you've had and all the information that we have learned, the wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you for standing up for the children of Kenya. Thank you for empowering communities, for doing so much to eradicate poverty and to make people's lives better. I celebrate you, and you, my friend, are doing a good job.
Thank you so much, Judy. I'm so happy to be with you today. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And thank you for the incredible work you're doing to mentor the youth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And to you, the viewer, I hope you've been inspired by Gabi. When God puts a burden in our hearts, it's because he wants us to do something about it, because we are the feet and the hands of Jesus. Most of the time we see a need, we are moved with compassion. We feel washed, but then we go home and life continues. Gabi saw a need and she was moved to action. And we ought to follow her example. When we see a need, we should move from just feeling compassion to doing something about it, because that's when we make a change. Thank you for sticking with us to the end. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.